Welcome into another edition of the Leadership Library, hosted by CEO and author Rocky Romanella. Rocky is the author of the book Tighten the Lug Nuts, The Principles of Balanced Leadership, and has over 40 years of business experience as a prominent member of the UPS Supply Chain Solutions team, as well as the CEO of Unitech Global Services. So sit back, grab your notebook, and take a seat, and get ready for this edition of the Leadership Library.
Welcome to the Leadership Library podcast. I am your host, Rocky Romanella. I'm smiling here because I got an email just a few days ago after the last podcast, when we talked a little bit about the first 100 days and, how you set that up. And someone sent me an email that basically said, hey, that makes sense to me, but can you give me the rest of the story? Kind of reminds me of the old Paul Harvey days, the rest of the story. So kind of showing my age on that. Guess you could Google him and he always told you a story and then said, and then there's the rest of the story. So let me give you the rest of the story of the 90 days. Laid it out in a simple way. However, there is more to that story, and that is understanding the balance that you have to have. And so I think the question was asked to me more along the lines of the pitfalls of the 100-day plan. Well, one of the pitfalls of the 100-day plan is you tend to do the things that you like to do, right? You tend to do the things that you're most comfortable with. And then the balanced leadership approach says that you need to make sure that all three key constituents are represented: customers, people, share owners, stakeholders. And so that's the rest of the story. The rest of the story is you have to have balance. You have to make sure in those first 100 days that, yes, you have to get to know your people, but it's not solely just getting to know your people. It's getting to know your customer base. It's getting to know who your key customers are. It's getting to the understanding of potentially what customers may have left recently. Do we even know why they left? It's that whole side of the share owner, stakeholder, profitability side. Am I acting like an owner in all the things that I do? So the rest of the story is, yes, what we talked about in our last episode is a great blueprint to lay out your 90 to 100-day plan. But you have to make sure that you're in balance. I think the second thing is you have to set clear boundaries for all to understand and communicate effectively with everyone what you are leading them to do and how they engage with you, right? If you think about this whole concept of getting to know your people, I got an email a few months ago about this, and the two of us talked about it offline. But yes, getting to know your people is important. Being a person that's approachable is very important. But then you also are the leader, right? There has to be boundaries to all of that as well. You can disagree without being disagreeable is a great concept. However, you have to know when and where to do those kinds of things. And so I think when you're laying out your 100-day plan and you're laying out getting to know my people, make sure you're in balance, make sure you understand the customer side of it, the profitability or the shareholder stakeholder side, and then understand the boundaries that you set, right? I think the most difficult promotions are those that happen within an organization, within the same business unit. I remember when I became a driver at UPS, and my promotion was, if it was in the same center where I was working, very difficult, right? Yesterday you were a driver, today you're the supervisor, tomorrow if you're the manager in that same center, very difficult. So I think that setting boundaries is so important, and letting people understand what your intentions are and how you'll manage through those things. And I think finally you take action and get results that you want and you need. But I think you can't do that in a vacuum, right? You remember what we talked about in the last episode? The biggest thing you don't know is what you don't know. And so if you lay out this plan to get results, and there's areas, for example, in finance and accounting that you may not be strong on, or maybe you're good in sales but not in operations, you want to make sure you seek the help of not only that individual who is beginning to mentor you as your promoter, but also other people in the organization that can mentor you. So that's the rest of the story. The rest of the story is you lay out your 100-day plan, you make sure you have balance, customers, share owners, and people, and make sure you set your boundaries of how people can engage with you, how people can work with you, how people can interact with you, and how you interact with them. And then I think finally, you understand that action needs to be taken, but you need to make sure you take that action appropriately with the good intentions and running it by probably initially some people that you trust that maybe are mentoring you as well. So that's the rest of the story. You want to make sure you lay your plan out, and you lay it out in such a way that not only helps you be successful, but the people in your care now are starting to get some success by the way you go about doing your business and the way you go about learning your job. They're learning from you. So someday when they get that promotion, what they'll look back on is, hey, I like the way so-and-so did it. I like the way they handled themselves. I like the way they engaged. I like the way that they felt vulnerable, but still were in charge. Thank you for being part of the Leadership Library family. I'm your host, Rocky Romanella. Hey, keep sending in those questions. They really make for some of our best podcasts.